Hello viewers, Super GT here. Thank you for joining me for another video. Now this one is something rather special because we have Group 2 cars, aka Super GT cars. I still can't believe they named that series after my channel. That is truly a hashtag blessing. But we have a double whammy on our side here because one, the series is called Super GT and we're driving their cars. And two, it's the Nurburgring GP circuit, which is a track I love and probably my favourite track in this game. So we have no excuses for losing here. So qualifying here, try to set a really good time, improving most laps. Well, I'll say most. Lap 2 and 3 didn't go too well, but lap 4 and 5 improving, 47.8. Lap 6, another 47.8. And then here we go across the line to improve for a 47.7. But I know I can go quicker than that. So here it is. I'm going to give you a quick guide here for my lap of the Nurburgring GP track, as it's now named. Braking just on the change of the tarmac into the mud there before the 100 board. Down to first gear. Keep it nice and pinned. You don't want to go too far to the left here because you want to go over to the right to open up turn 2. Then coast it in. And then it's quite an early acceleration point because you can go quite wide here. Look how wide you can go. As long as you've got 2 on the red and white, you're okay. Braking quite early, keeping it nice and pinned here through turn 3. You want to keep it nicely to the left somewhat on the entry to turn 4, using all the curb here and here. Aim for that green section and there as well. So you can really abuse limits on the exit of 4. On the way to 5, braking or turning in just before or just at the end of that tarmac on the right. On the power nice and early is a bit of a camber corner, and here you've got to be really just committed on the power, using all of the tarmac plus more on the exit on the left hand side. On the run down to the hairpin at the bottom of the hill, looking for this curb on the left, and you're going to pretty much brake at the start of it, and I'll brake maybe a little bit too late. Going into second gear, pivot back for a second late apex. Schumacher-esque you're about to do easily flat out, using that extra tarmac on the right, extra curb on the right on the entry for a better angle, and then flat out through there towards this corner. You want to brake just at the start of this tarmac on the right hand side. There it is, down 2 gears to third, use that curb on the left, power out over to the left hand side to open up this corner, and then on the power quite early when you're on the apex, and using again all of the excess curb on the left hand side, and then you've got the easy flat out kink, and then the last big braking zone of the circuit, the chicane here, braking just before the 100 board. So about maybe 120 metres before this corner. Down into second gear, and you have to really get friendly with abuse here. Abusing those limits. Well, technically you're not abusing the limits because you're playing to the limits that they give you, which is all of the curb. And nice and early on the power on the exit of the final corner. And that is 3.5 tenths quicker. So just shy of a 47.4. And that was a decent lap. I was pleased with that. I could go maybe a couple of tenths quicker. I did lose time in a couple of corners, but it was good enough for pole position in our first race. And normally I go from the back for my first race. If you want to see a back start, then hang around towards the end of the video because I'm going to do a back start as well to make things interesting. Not that this isn't interesting, because starting from pole is still a challenge. As we go in here, I didn't really know where to brake. This is the first time doing the race. And I just played it quite conservatively, braking where I'd normally brake on the cold tyres here. And the main thing here really is just try to get into that rhythm as soon as possible. We don't have anyone to worry about in front, so we don't have any dirty air to be concerned about. You can see that on the exit of turn 4, already out of the slipstream range as we approach 8 tenths ahead of second. But we don't need to focus on that too much. We just really need to focus on just getting our head down and just setting the laps that we've just done. We just did 10 laps in practice, so that's a good amount of laps to have under our belt as we head into these races here. So come down the hill, again braking on the curb on the left hand side. That sees you into the hairpin here at the bottom of the hill quite nicely. And then on the run back up the hill towards the Schumacher-esque, should be able to set this flat out. A bit of a swerve over the curb on the left hand side, maybe turned it a little bit too early, but still kept my foot in, so it wasn't too bad. And then you have turn 10, turn 11, as you turn right back onto the back straight, as you come towards the final chicane. The gap went massive if that's a good way to say it, which it isn't. It was about a second, then all of a sudden it was 3.5 seconds nearly. So I'm not sure exactly what happened there between people behind, but that set us up very nicely for the rest of this race. I had a lap to play with, and by the end I was actually 7.5 seconds in the lead. So this first race went really rather to plan. Start in the lead, pull away, and don't have to worry about the rest of the people. So that was our 177th win on the account, so good stuff. We had no excuses for losing, and we start off with a victory. So starting off as we intend to go on, and this is what happened behind us on that first lap. It all really just kicked off. And if we have a look from... Actually, I just wanted to say that this guy actually slowed down, admitted fault, and just waited for the guy to go back past him. So it was actually a really nice show of sportsmanship there. And actually, it is a thing. It does happen sometimes. So this Hungarian driver sitting in 5th, looking at the back of all of this carnage going on here through turns 10 and 11. Everyone just flying off left, right and centre. And he said, okay, thank you very much. I'll go from 5th straight up to 2nd. So Christmas came early for this Hungarian driver. But we move on to race number 2, starting once again in the lead. And the main thing here I was worried about was the lunge into turn 1. I wasn't quite sure if it was possible, because sometimes in Nurburgring it really depends. People can go for that lunge at the first corner. You are of course quite spread out because of the rolling start. But this time here, the driver behind didn't quite fancy it. So really it's just a case of doing the same as we did on the previous race, just trying to get away, just being nice and clinical, doing the job that has to be done, and not worrying too much. So as we exit turn 4 onto this little straight here, you can see again it's pretty much deja vu. Pretty much exactly the same gap as we had on the previous race, and that set us up for a nice finish with the fastest lap in the last lap. 178th win, we go again. Now this time things were a little bit different. As I said, I was worried about that lunge into turn 1. You see the gap is one of those uneasy sort of gaps. It is 4 tenths coming in here, but they do have the momentum on you. And I braked a little bit too early, and he kind of just sent it, and it worked. And he got himself up the inside, and I couldn't quite fend him off with the left hand even though I was on the inside for it. And then he just managed to slip ahead here into turn 3. So this was something a little bit different, a bit of a spanner in the works. And now I have to fight from behind, which I haven't done yet. So I'm really kind of inexperienced in this situation, especially in Group 2 at this track. I don't think I've done it before, if I'm honest. So I fought back instantly through turn 5, around the outside. This gives us the inside for turn 6. So it wasn't long that he managed to stay in the lead for. Only maybe 10-15 seconds. And we got the job done quite early. The longer you leave it, the more that person is just going to get settling into that position. So we fought back instantly, got it back instantly. And now we can just go about doing the same job of trying to be clinical, trying to pull away, drinking game for clinical, and just doing best we can do to make sure that we get away from this Hungarian driver. And this is where the practice comes in. This is where the qualifying laps come in, because we did 10 laps in that opening session, and that just gives me good familiarity with the braking points and good consistency. So you're going to make less mistakes as a result of doing that many laps. If you can do more than 10 laps, then do it, just to give yourself that familiarity and consistency, and you're less prone to make mistakes once you're familiar with the track. And on the exit of the final corner of lap 1, that's pretty much his race challenge over. Very sad times for him indeed.
We don't care.
But that gave us another victory. Thank you very much. So I want you guys to rate this warm-up out of 8, please, in the comments. So nice slide over turn 5 and turn 6. Perhaps a new line we could work out. But this is where things are a little bit different, because we're going to start in 2nd this time to a driver who is 3 tenths quicker with his qualifying lap. So it's not exactly nothing. 3 tenths is quite a bit of a difference. So let's see. I'm going to play this race in its entirety, pretty much, because it was a really good one. Really, really good race, this. So starting 2nd. Now the main thing we have to contend with now, well, is of course having a car in front. And the main thing that does to us is give us dirty air. And we don't like dirty air because it gives us less downforce. And downforce is good, unless you're on straight, I guess. But for the most part, through these corners, it's not the easiest track to drive with dirty air. There's lots of fast sweeping corners, especially after the turn 7 hairpin at the bottom of the hill here. So already Tiger Tom there in the lead, just pulling away about 6/10. If we can just try to pin him at less than 7/10, that'd be good. Then we have at least the benefit of the slipstream on the straights. Through the Schumacher S, let's see how tricky it is through here. Not quite flat. So when you're in the lead without any slipstream or any dirty S worry, you can easily take that flat. So I had to have a bit of a comfort lift there. Maybe you can take it flat in the dirty air, but maybe I just need to get good and get used to it. So this is my first proper experience, my first extended experience of sitting behind in the toe. So the main thing you're going to notice really is just the understeer coming through the corners. So you do have to kind of adapt your lines. And if anything, if you can, just try to not drive directly behind the car in front. So you can just try and take different lines if possible. Not always easy, because of course, if they're taking the racing line, then you kind of have to follow them to an extent. Down the straight here, he's going to go over to the right hand side and then suddenly jink left. But we're just going to follow him exactly and gain as much time as possible. Every little tenth or half of a tenth or a tenth of a tenth counts. So we're going to follow him the best we possibly can. You see how much more we close up on him as we break into turn 1 and exit turn 1 and come through the sequence of turns 3, 4, 2, 3 and then 4. So 3 here, just trying to pin it to the left hand side and then into the right hander of 4. And again, just trying to abuse the track limits on the exit. Although, again, as I said earlier, it's not abuse if that's what the limit is. And into turn 5. So you can see here, just trying to take a nice line entry into turn 6. Because it is quite a crucial exit here, down the hill. So not quite close enough to really go for this move just yet. But all you can do is just really just try to keep the pressure on. And just maybe probe for that mistake. If that mistake comes, then you can capitalise. I'm only 4/10 behind here, not close enough to go for a move, unless it was a savage dive bomb of the Millennium, of course. But we aren't just ready to pull that kind of a move off at the moment. A bit of a squirm on the exit of turn 10 into 11. We'll see the gap opens up to about 6/10. So Tiger Tom just pulling away through that corner. But we're still in with the shout here as we head up into the chicane for the second time of 4. So again, both of us just absolutely hammering those track limits. As you do. That's what you've got to do. That's basically the game through that Nurburgring GP final chicane. And it's almost always been like that. Crossing the line at the end of lap 2, that's half the race. Again, that sudden jink to the left, we're going to follow him exactly. And we're going to take all of the slipstream that we can get. It's free time. It's free real estate. So you might as well just take it. If it's free, you might as well take it. So, on the exit of turn 2, again, he actually runs a little bit wide there. Is that going to be a penalty? It should be. If my qualifying lap track guide was correct, and there it is. He went slightly beyond the limits, and was that pressure? It's hard to say exactly what it was. It was a lack of concentration in some way. He's got a 0.5 second penalty, which he is going to serve just around this corner on the run down towards turn 7. And surely that's going to give me the lead here. It's only a 0.5, you don't lose too much time from it, as you don't have much time to come down here towards the braking zone of turn number 7. But it is enough to give me the lead. So now this race has flipped on its head, and I'm in the more familiar position of being in front, which I've been in the last 3 races. So now we have a fast driver. Obviously his qualifying time 3/10 quicker than what mine was, so he's going to try to put the pressure on me this time. So we've got 1 and let's say a quarter laps left to go in this race, and it's really a case of just trying to keep our cool and not do anything stupid. So the gap 6/10 as we head here towards the chicane. Look for that 100 board, braking just before, down to 2nd gear, using the track limits. There we go, on the power as early as you can realistically get away with. I still need to push the limits, and actually looking at the gap here as we go into the final corner of lap 3, gap up to 1.3 seconds. So he's made a mistake through that chicane, and that gives me a nice buffer here, as you can see there. of 1.3 seconds at the beginning of lap number 4, the final lap of 4, and through the final corner we come. It's going to be a win. So that was a really good race actually. 7.25 minutes of racing, good racing that, and we win it by 1.2 seconds, courtesy really of just keeping the pressure up and capitalising on a mistake. And it wasn't a real overtake, it was just a penalty overtake. But still, they all count, and that's race win number 180 on this account. Good stuff. Now we start third this time, so something a little bit different. The guy in the lead actually was the one who started third in the last race, and he somehow just set a really quick lap within the only, let's say, 6 minutes you get between each race, so that was quite a worrying prospect. We managed to jump immediately up into second, courtesy of a mistake from the Belgian driver there. And now we can set our sights on trying to hammer down the laps and catch up with the leader, which didn't happen, as you can see here at the beginning of lap number 2. Or sorry, at the end of lap number 2. He did give me a glimmer of hope, as you can see here. He obviously did something wrong at the chicane. Got himself a 0.5 second penalty, which he served here. Didn't really lose too much time, as I said. It's not a long straight there, so you don't lose too much. Through the chicane lap number 3, it's clear that he was pushing the limits because he made a rather sizable error on the exit of the chicane, which gave me again another glimmer of hope, but it wasn't enough. At the end of the race here, I was within a second of him, but he was definitely quicker, just maybe less consistent, just making too many mistakes. But he did cross the line to win, so that's our first second place. So it was a good run. What was that, 4 wins and then a second? Our driver rating really improving actually. He started the day at 43,000, and by this point here about 46,000. So approaching the A+ rating of 50,000 you need for A+. But I decided to go over to Ram's Shadow, whip him out for a day, let him out of his cage, and start him from the back to see exactly what we can do about overtaking the field, or as much of the field as possible. So this is the real entertaining meme race of the video, starting 15th of 16, 4 laps. How many positions can we gain? Let's go. Across the line, this guy's gone for the Honda NSX. Interesting choice. It is a quick car, just maybe a little bit harder to control. Into the first corner, it goes a little bit deep. We can get the cut back on him and overtake him on the way out of the corner. So that's one position done already. And we turn our attention to Black Zeus 90 as we turn into turn 3. So let's see if we can go about trying to overhaul this chap. The exit of turn 4. Again, hammering those limits. Drinking game for the word hammer or hammering. I bet you're absolutely wasted. You have to go back to the start of the video and redo it. Right, on the exit here, turn number 6. Is he going to defend? Yes, he is. All the way to the inside. I'm going to pin him to the right hand side as late as possible. Move over to the left. Late braking move. And we've actually sold him for chips around the outside. That is his career over. Thank you very much. Sorry for ending it so soon, my friend, but had to be done. Right, catching up to the rest of the pack here, including this Kinder liveried car. We got cars off the left-hand side there, off in the wall. Another one off on the gravel. As we come out here, I'm not sure exactly what happened there. That guy seemed to want to turn right on the exit of that corner, which was a bit weird. And we get a 2-second penalty as a result. That's a bit of a frustration. We're going to have to serve that halfway through this lap. Still going to try and overtake this guy. And get the old switcheroo going there. And the exit of turn 2. Job done. Lovely jubbly. Don't you love to see that? And then we turn our attention to this Italian now. Exit of turn 4. Boom. Over the curb. Nicely done. Up into 8th at this point. We're going to lose a couple of positions though. 2-second penalty. It's not exactly a 0.5, is it? Went for the move there, being aggressive. And, contact. We both kind of met in the middle. It looked like he kind of had a big moment on the curb. And came over to the right whilst I was going left. But there's the penalty served, down into 11th. So we've got all that work to do again. But it is a nice big train here of, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5th place is at the front of this train. So we have some potential here still to gain many positions. 4th place is quite a long way ahead. I'm going to try to get past Black Zeus once again. He gets it all out of shape. And into turn 11, we're just going to sweep around the outside of him to get back into the top 10. So now we're looking for the move into the chicane. Maybe a little bit too far back at this point here to go for the move on Johnny Boy 93. But we're going to position ourselves on the inside just in case he breaks early, and he does. That gives us the invitation just to go full send up the inside. Looking for the move on Kinder once again. And there's a bit of deja vu from lap 1. I'm going to go around the outside. German hits the wall. Oh, I tried to go for the cutback and I perhaps didn't pay enough attention to Johnny Boy coming back through. He gets himself a 1 second penalty for that contact, although probably a racing incident at best. Black Zeus trying to return the favour on me. Coming into turn 1, back up the inside with a big send there, and we move up into 8th place. So this race really all over the place, up and down in positions, then back up again, then back down again, and now back up again. So it really is changing. Very entertaining stuff. Well, you'll be the judge of that. Maybe you think it's a load of rubbish. I don't know. I can't tell you how you're feeling, can I? On the exit of turn 4, how many times have I said exit of turn 4? About 1 million. Drinking game for that. Sorry, alcoholics. Okay, so through turn 5, we get past the German. And on the exit there, boom. Oh, what's that guy doing? Just parked it up. Yellow flag. Don't worry about it. And into turn number 7 at the bottom of the hill. We are in P7 with a sight of 5th. A lap and a half to go. Can we get 5th? I can get 6th. 6th is only here. But we don't want to finish 6th because we do that enough. Into turn number 10. And he goes very wide. This is a potential cutback opportunity. We're going to go for the wide line. Oh, gets himself a 0.5 second penalty. Not sure why they give you a penalty for running wide on the exit turn 10. You're not really gaining time out there. Plus you get dirty tyres. Goes over to the left hand side. He wants to defend the corner. Fair enough. On the outside here into the chicane. Not normally a good place to be, but it kind of works out. So good racing between the two of us actually there. Gave each other space and it kind of worked out. So a couple of examples of actually good sportsmanship during the course of this video. It does exist. It does actually exist, believe it or not. So here we go then. Last lap of the race and of the video. Can we get that 5th place? A little bit too wide on the exit of turn 1, but we kind of recover through turn number 2. And that's a little bit wide. I think that is potentially a penalty, but I think I just about escape it. And I must have been 1 pixel within the limit. So thank you, pixels, for saving my life. We still have a chance here of salvaging this 5th place, which would be a net gain of 10 positions in this race, which isn't too bad from 15th. And coming out of turn number 6, down the hill, not close enough to go for this savage dive bomb. We're not going to go for it. We're going to go for the deep line, go for the run on the exit, and he makes an absolute hash of it. And that's going to give us the momentum to go up the inside into the Schumacher S. Not normally an overtaking opportunity, but it is when they make a mistake, of course. So go past him, up into 5th. Now it's just a case of not bottling it, like I did in the previous video, and where I dropped back down to 6th. Let's learn from our mistakes, children, and adults, and everyone else who's watching this video. I apologise for calling you children, because you might not all be children. Got a yellow flag here. I was hoping to gain another position, but it was just this guy in 15th with a 7.5 second penalty going into the pit lane. I'm not sure what he's thinking. Might be high on something. And we cross the line, set the fastest lap on the last lap, so that's some sort of consolation, I suppose. And we finish in 5th. If in case you were wondering what happened to this guy, how the hell we managed to meet the wall, well, here it is. He came up here completely unassisted. Boom, just straight in. So, absolute disaster for this poor chap, and then he disappeared. And then that was him blowing up his console 5 seconds later. But there we go. Another video completed. Thank you for watching as always. And well, just the usual. Subscribe, like, all that good stuff. Twitter and Instagram linked in the description. Give us a follow. And well, that's the end for me. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.